Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here at my next Avatar video. This one is going to be an updated Avatar slash Korra collection video. So I did one of these in 2013 where I showed off basically all of the Avatar merchandise, items, things that I have. And in this one I'm just going to do an updated version because it's obviously 3 years later. And I've had a few people over the last couple of months asking me about this. And I think now, end of 2016, it's a good time to do it. So yeah, let's start off with the kind of DVD, CD, video game section. I'll split it into sections just to make it easier because I don't have all this stuff just right next to me. I can only do it in sections. So yes, DVDs, media basically. So we'll start off with the simple stuff. There's only one CD for Avatar and Korra, and that is Legend of Korra Book 1 Air soundtrack. Really cool that this came out. Unfortunately, we didn't get the others. I would absolutely love the soundtrack for ATLA, the other books of Korra, especially Book 2 Spirits. But unfortunately, it doesn't look like it's happening at this stage. And it seems like the reason for that is just that Nick expected this to sell kind of much more than anyone would ever expect of it. Even though it sold really well, going up against like movies that were out at the time, I think this did exceptionally well. Sold really well digitally and physically, but for some reason Nick expected so much more from it. So that's that. In terms of video games, I only have three, at least physical things. So we have Avatar: Legend of Aang, a normal DS game for Book 1. We have the Book 2 game, Avatar: Legend of Aang, Burning Earth. And then we have, of course, the Book 3 game, Avatar, Legend of Aang, Into the Inferno. Chibi game, which is really interesting. This is actually probably the best game of the three, whereas they kind of try and make these kind of adventure RPG type games. This one is kind of just more of a kind of puzzler, using the DS much better. So, very interesting games overall. So yeah, the reason I don't have any Wii games is just because I, at the time, never bothered to get any of them, or PlayStation or anything like that. I do have the Legend of Korra video game, but obviously that's a digital game, so I have it on my Xbox 360 and Xbox One. And then the Legend of Korra 3DS game never actually came out outside of America. It only came out in America, only physically I believe. It was never released digitally, otherwise I'd probably be playing it right now. So yeah, that's a huge disappointment that game never came out, otherwise I would absolutely have it in my collection. And that's basically it. There's not a ton of other media merchandise stuff for Avatar really. So let's get straight into the DVDs then. So I'll split this up into two sections: UK Irish DVDs, where I'm from, and American DVDs. So in terms of Avatar, in terms of my own region, UK Irish, here's my original set. So Book 1, Water. Book 2, Earth. Book 3, Fire. So I have the three, just the complete sets overall. And you can tell they're the UK versions because it says The Legend of Aang on them. Though, the Book 3 one does say The Last Airbender. So they're my kind of old ones, obviously they're pretty old at this stage. These are the ones I watch, so if they ever get if I ever have to lend it to anyone, these are the ones I use. I do have a newer version, which is the complete Book 3 book collection, which was re-released in or around 2013 I believe, and this is literally just new packaging. There's nothing new about these sets other than the actual packaging. So briefly show this off. So yeah, it's basically instead of a paper kind of collection box, you just get a standard DVD case type box. It's the exact same thing. Except they do kind of fit this in that they call Book 3 The Legend of Aang once again, so that's nice. But in general, this is just here as kind of backup in case any of these discs ever get too badly scratched so they can't use them. I do have something I can play. Now Korra. I don't have Korra on Blu-ray because the Blu-rays never came out over here. I believe the Australian Blu-ray complete collection set does work over here because the Blu-ray regions work out that way, that Oceania is basically the same region as Europe for Blu-ray. So at some point I may get that, but in general what I have is Korra on DVD. So here's the UK Book 1 DVD for Korra Book 1 Air, Book 2 Spirits DVD, Book 3 Change, and book 4 balance. So have all of that's what I watch, like when I'm doing the podcast each week and we're reviewing Korra episodes. I watch them using these, so that's pretty cool. Now, US DVDs. So in terms of Avatar, I only have a US version of this. So this is the newer complete collection series. I think this came out last year, and you can obviously tell by the brand new art for the overall box, but also the new art on each of the individual pieces of the set. So really cool art for book 1, really cool art for book 2, and book 3. And now the reason I have these, the reason I got this, is of course because the UK DVDs do not have any extras on them. I think book 3 has a couple of extras, but in general it's nothing compared to what the US sets have. Like the book 1 water set here has like 2 documentaries. It's got episode commentaries. The book 3 set has like episode commentaries for more than half the season, and there's only 2 or 3 on the UK set. So this is what I use to watch like extras, because I can play American DVDs on my laptop. So that's that. And then for Korra, I have the individual DVDs on American DVD as well. So the only difference here is that you get a slipcase in addition to the actual set. There's nothing overly different about it. The discs look a bit different, but I think I've shown them off before when I reviewed them. So yeah, book 1 Air, book 2 Spirits, book 3 Change, and book 4 Balance. Exact same, just with slipcases, and then this one has a poster, but I'll show that poster off later in the kind of poster section and stuff like that. So yeah, that's my DVD collection for Avatar and Korra. The only real addition I would like to have, of course, is to at some stage add Korra on Blu-ray to that. Unfortunately, Avatar obviously isn't available on Blu-ray because, one, it was never made on Blu-ray, the show isn't high enough quality to go on Blu-ray, because even the DVDs have their problems. So looking for the best I think we could hope for ever with Avatar is probably just a re-release of the DVDs where they fix the problems with the DVD transfers from before. So yeah, that's all my kind of media stuff. So next section will be all about the books and comics and that sort of thing. So next up is the books that I have. So I'll start off with some of the less obvious ones, and then we'll get into the more obvious stuff. So Legend of Korra books, probably the most, the least talked about Korra pieces of merchandise ever that came out that were like official, are probably these 2 books, Legend of Korra Revolution and Legend of Korra Endgame. So these are 2 young novelizations that together basically are a novelization of book 1 Air. I feel like I'm one of the only people in the entire fandom who has read these books, reviewed them, given them any sort of coverage. I believe I was actually the one to contact the publisher and ask what was up with volume 3 and why it didn't come out, and I got the information straight from them that they actually cancelled going ahead with these after that. So they stopped at these, 3 never happened, and that's why we never saw novelizations for Spirits, Change, or Balance. So yeah, they're interesting if you check them out. I have reviews of them up on my channel. Next thing, Avatar The Last Airbender Lost Scrolls Collection. This is obviously a collection of the 4 separate Lost Scrolls book, Earth, Fire, Water, Air. Yeah, it's probably one of the few books from ATLA pre-Dark Horse that is actually worth picking up, because it's not just your standard character basically writing a recap of an episode that they happen to be in, and not really giving you any information and written in a kind of very kid-focused way. This one actually comes across as a little bit of like a kind of database type situation. You know, it goes into stuff like earthbending techniques, stuff about the culture of each nation and so on. And it actually is fairly interesting. Again, most of the book is recapped by the characters about certain episodes, but you get stuff like, you know, the philosophy of each nation, stuff about the fauna of each nation, some of the important people, military structure, animals. It's not crazy in-depth, but there's a few key pieces of information that we only know thanks to this book. So it's definitely one worth checking out if you haven't heard anything about it. Next up, again, one of the other more recent pieces of merchandise that I don't think a lot of fans know about, Avatar The Last Airbender Legacy. So the idea behind this book is that an older Aang is giving this book, it's basically a scrapbook, to Tenzin fairly early on and after Tenzin's born. So when he's in or around, that age, like he is in the cover there. And in general, obviously these two books are written by the same people. So most of the information from this ends up being information that we have in this book. So there's nothing massively new. There's a few important things, like there's a letter from Aang to Tenzin, there's a letter from Katara to Tenzin. They're definitely the most interesting kind of plot, detail bits of the book. But I think why you buy this book is for stuff, is the little pullouts, that there's these kind of things that are basically Aang is giving them to Tenzin. You get stuff like this, the field guide to the Earth's fauna, so the different animals in the Earth, from the Earth Kingdom. What are some of the other ones? Here's a kind of Fire Festival poster, pretty interesting. And I'll show just one more, if I can find one. Bossing, say, kind of postcard type thing. So you get that sort of stuff. Some of it's really cool, some of it not so much. There's like a comic or two. Actually, here's the most interesting one, actually. Waterbending Scroll. Really nice. It's just a printout. Paper's not amazing quality, but it's a cool thing to have, these kind of in-universe items. So that's that. And then before I get into the obvious books, I have two out of the 5 free comics that have come out for Avatar. So we got free comics in 2011, 2013, 2014, 15, and 16. I have the 2016 free comic book, which is this year's one, which is the first Korra comic ever, Friends for Life. So that's really cool, the story of how Korra and Naga met. I have the 2014 comic, which is called Shells. It's about Sokka and Suki. Not a crazy amazing story, but it's fun. It's definitely a fun one. I don't have the 2011 one, which is probably the least important one because it's just 2 stories from the Lost Adventures. There's nothing overly unique about it that I would make it I'd really call it a collectible. I have the Lost Adventures, so I don't feel the need to in any way search for that 2011 book. The 2013 one is the May comic Rebound, which is obviously the kind of setup for Smoke and Shadow to some degree. That is one I want to get at some point. And then the 2015 one is called Sisters. That's the Ty Lee and Toph focused story. And again, it's another one I'd like to get. Probably have to go to eBay for those two, given that I was unable to get them from Free Comic Book Day those years. But they are 2 of the kind of lesser, I suppose, known comics and stuff like that. So before the comics, let's talk about the art books from Dark Horse. Let's get into the Dark Horse stuff now. So first up, we have Avatar: The Last Airbender, Art of the Animated Series. Really, really nice book there. Obviously going over the art behind the scenes of how the book is, the various books, episodes are made. We only got one for Avatar. It covers all books. With Korra, they split into 4 separate books, one for each of the various 4 books of Avatar. So there's the Book 1 Air art book. Book 2 Spirits art book. Definitely, I think, the best of the 4, just because Book 2, I think, is the most visually interesting one with the spirit world and so on. Book 3 Change art book. Very nice. And Book 4 Balance art book. Really, really nice there. Next, we'll move into the comics. So, first of all, as I talked about just there, Avatar: The Last Airbender, The Lost Adventures. Not a lot of people know about this one because everyone obviously knows about the 3-part comic series, but this is the first book that Dark Horse released. It's a collection of short stories set during ATLA, in between episodes, in between seasons, and there's a few pretty notable stories. A lot of them are just kind of quick 1, 2, 3 page stories that are fun, but not important. But there's some really important stuff here, like the back says, when did Zuko and May first kiss, and who would win in the Earthbending Showdown, Toph or Boomy, and so on. So it's a pretty nice book. So yeah, let's go through this individual parts. So the Promise Part 1, Promise Part 2, Promise Part 3, the Search Part 1, Search Part 2, Search Part 3, Rift Part 1, Rift Part 2, Rift Part 3, Smoke and Shadow Part 1, Smoke and Shadow Part 2, Smoke and Shadow Part 3, North and South Part 1. So they're all the individual ones. Then we have the library editions, which are the collection of each of those comic stories, 3-in-1s, plus there's some extras, and they're bigger. So here's the Promise Library Edition. Very nice. The Search Library Edition. The Rift Library Edition. And the relatively recently released Smoke and Shadow Library Edition. Pretty nice. Okay, last few books to cover here. How to Draw The Legend of Korra. Again, a book that I think went by a lot of people that it actually came out. It really did kind of go past a lot of people. This isn't made by Dark Horse. I can't remember the publisher, but you know, it teaches you in pretty good detail how to actually draw. Like the back kind of covers it quite well. The video review I have up in this on my channel kind of highlights it, and like I'm no freehand drawer. I can do technical drawings and stuff like that with like protractors and stuff like that, but this sort of freehand work I can't really do that well. But just following this, I was able to do a couple of pretty nice drawings following these instructions. So it is a pretty good book to be able to check out. Avatar: The Last Airbender coloring book, very recently released. I actually did color in one of these. Let me find it. So yeah, I didn't put in too much effort into it, but you know, just like it's pretty cool. You know, you color it. There's some really pretty nice art overall. I didn't obviously put too much effort into that, but it's a nice book to have just purely for the art, I think, with this one. Then the last two books, Avatar: The Last Airbender poster collection and The Legend of Korra poster collection. Both really cool books to get to add to your collection of posters if you do collect Avatar posters. So yeah, that's basically all of the most notable books. There's no like big release books that I don't have, but yeah, that's been the book section of the video. So the next section I'm going to cover is going to be kind of toys, figures, that sort of thing. Okay, so here is the kind of toys and games, I suppose, section of the video. From the original ATLA toy line, merchandise line, I don't have a ton of stuff, honestly. What I do have is, in terms of the action figures, I have the Roku figure, which is, you know, I've reviewed most of these stuff on my channel, so you can check those out. It's pretty nice. I do have this Ice Attack Aang, or whatever it's meant to be, you know, like this is the problem with the Avatar merchandise line. They did all male characters, no female characters, and there's like 3 versions of Roku for some reason. There's like 7 versions of Aang wearing all different sort of nation clothing, even though he never wore it in the show, but the sculpts and articulation are actually okay, all things considering. So they're the 2 figures that I have. Then in terms of the bigger figures, I have Spirit Fang here, obviously Roku's dragon. Pretty nice, you know, there's some unusual articulation, you can do crazy stuff with the wings, and it shoots a missile out of its mouth, but you know, it's a typical kind of vehicle style figure. Then you have the Fire Nation Komodo Rhino, which is, you know, again, pretty cool. The sculpt is well done. It's got some action features. And then, like, you put these kind of giant red ball things on these and you can kind of launch them with this. But yeah, that's that. The only other thing, basically, from then is the Avatar trading card game, which I've talked about before a bunch. I've done a video just recently covering the lore of the card game. But here's my collection in terms of, like, ordered from, like, card number 1 to card number 0. I'd say I have in or around like 50% completion on the sets, but it's not really close. It's a huge set for just the game only having 1 set. Here's what an opened booster pack looks like for anyone wondering. I just kept this just because it was like, why not? And then I do have 2 of the actual starter decks here, which I just used to basically store the duplicate cards that I have, and also to store, of course, the like rules and stuff like that you get in them. It's actually a really cool storage thing because obviously, as you can see there, you have your kind of closure thing. It's one of the nicest kind of TCG boxes that I've ever seen in terms of keeping your cards safe. Like, I'd love it if like Yu-Gi-Oh! Magic the Gathering type stuff came with boxes as good as this. But it's a game, again, not a lot of people are familiar with, but I'm happy to have a decent amount in my collection. Though I would love to be able to find like booster boxes and stuff like that online for a good price. But that's more or less it. The last thing is the most recent addition to my toy kind of statue collection, and that is the Zwire Industries Chibi Aang figure. So this is only released a couple of months ago. Really, really nice sculpt on this. I have a review up on my channel. I didn't get the Korra one because they announced the Good Smile Company Nendoroid Korra. I have a pre-order in for that, and I will be reviewing that when I get it, and that will be the Chibi Korra figure within my collection. I'm looking forward to getting my hands on that, but that is most of what I have in my collection. So we're just going to end now with the posters that I have up on my walls, and kind of that last little bit kind of to end off my collection tour. Okay, so this is an unofficial wall scroll. Obviously it features my original Avatar. I think I used this on YouTube early on, and I used it on like Avatar The Last Airbender Online.com, but it's really cool. It's one of my favorite images of Aang in his like kind of end of the series outfit and stuff like that. It's a really cool wall scroll. But we'll switch over to one of my other walls for the other posters that I have now. So I've shown these off before, but let's quickly go through it. That is the Book 4 Balance DVD poster that comes with it. Only the American version of the DVD comes with this poster. But as you can tell, it is literally just the Book 4 Balance art book cover without the background. Here is a Coronation poster, pretty exclusive, but like a decent amount of these were printed, a good amount of fans have these, but it's just a really nice stock image of Book 1 Korra, but really happy to have that poster in my collection. Here is probably one of my favorite things that I own. These two things actually here are definitely the two most, I suppose, personally valuable to me, and probably the most valuable kind of things in my collection. Signed Mike and Brian poster from 2012. This is Josh Middleton art. It's in the Korra poster book. Really, really happy to have this one. Just it's the one thing I own that is signed by Mike and Brian. And it's just a really, really cool, nice looking poster. This, though, I think is the most valuable thing in my collection. So this is what I won for coming in the top 10 in Coronation by the end of it. This is a one-of-a-kind Joaquim dos Santos drawing of Mako. You can see there, JDS 2013, it is signed by him, and it's one of the rewards for Coronation. I got the Mako piece. It is one of a kind because, I don't know if my camera shows it, but you can very clearly see that it's definitely, you know, drawn on. It's not just a printout, it is the actual piece of art. And I suppose as proof of that, let's cut over to the Book 2 Balance, the Book 2 Spirits art book at the back. So here we go, right on like the last page of the Book 2 Spirits art book, we have the page for ancillary art. And we have here, as Joaquim dos Santos says, these Coronation sketch rewards are always fun to do for the fans. Hopefully we'll have a chance to do some more. Brian says, some very lucky people won these original drawings for their very own collections. There's the Asami one, Korra one, Boomy, Kaya over on this page, Unalaq, Tonrock, Boomy, and look, there is my Mako image. Really, really nice. And I'm really actually happy with the one I was given. It was at random, I didn't get a chance to choose. I'm so happy because ultimately I think it's one of my favorite pieces of art from all of these. If I had to pick right now, I would choose either the Mako one or the Unalaq one, because obviously I really like Unalaq as a character, and I really like that image actually, it's really nice. But they're all really nice pieces of art. So I'm really, really happy to have that in my collection. So we'll just end this video on camera, just to do the sign-offs and stuff like that. So that is basically everything in my collection. I think there are a couple of little things from my 2013 video that I may have left out, but I still have those things. I haven't lost anything in the last 3 years. But definitely check out the old video, which is linked in the description, from 2013. You can see how much the collection has grown, basically over the cycle of like an entire show, basically, all of Korra. Yeah, in the comments, let me know what your thoughts are on my collection. Are there stuff that you have that I don't have? Do you think any of the stuff in my collection is particularly rare, or what? Just let me know what you have. I definitely want to know, because I suppose my own take on my own collection is that it's big-ish, but there are definitely people who have more than me. There are people out there who have obviously collected most of the ATLA toy line who have all the figures and stuff like that. There are people from America who've been able to attend all those conventions and have a lot of like convention exclusive posters and merchandise and stuff like that. As you can tell, there's stuff like I didn't buy any of the Dark Horse deluxe statues or merchandise like the cups and the lunch boxes and stuff like that. That's not my style of merchandise. There are people out there who have a lot of that stuff. I have a lot of the main stuff, like I have all the comics and the Dark Horse stuff, the DVDs and so on. But I don't think they're outside of like the coronation posters and the Mako piece of art that I have. I don't think anything in my collection is like massively rare. I think because I have a decent amount of the trading cards, that's seen as somewhat rare. It's just because a lot of the fandom doesn't know they exist. But yeah, comments, definitely I'm looking forward to a bit of a discussion in the comments on this one. But other than that, I'll just say link to my Twitter and Tumblr are in the description below. Also link in the description to my Patreon campaign and my PayPal donation link if you want to help support my channel so I can make more videos, better videos. But that's the video. Thanks for watching and bye.